Hello everyone, welcome back. In this lecture, I will be discussing about electric charge and the force of attraction or repulsion between the electric charges, that is explained by Coulomb. So Coulomb's law of electric charges and also the electric field produced by the charges. Let us start. So the first one is, let us discuss about a point charges. So electric charge is a property of matter. So like mass, volume, this is also a property of matter. In SI system, the units of the charge is coulombs. Coulombs. The charge of electron is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. The charge can be negative, charge can be positive. That means there are different two types of charges are there. Charges can be a negative charge and charges can be a positive. If the charge is negative, then like electrons will have a negative charge, and the positive means protons. Positive charges means maybe there will be other particles also there other than protons, like positrons and many other charges are there. Negative charges also, there are many other negative charges might be there, but electrons will be represented with a negative charge and protons will be represented with a positive charge. The positive charge is stuck in place in the nuclei. The material is composed of atoms. Every atom is composed of a nucleus. Nucleus is composed of positive charge and surrounded by electron which is revolving around the nucleus. So in the matter, the positive charge is stuck in the nucleus. So here the matter is negatively charged when extra electrons are given and positively charged when electrons are removed. That means if you take any atom, for example, let's consider carbon. It has 6 electrons and 6 protons are there. Then we represent this is neutral atom. If one electron is added to the carbon, then we represent that is a C minus because excess electron is there. If one electron is removed, then we can represent this is C plus. That means one electron is removed, so this carbon becomes C plus because 5 electrons, 6 protons, so one excess proton. So that means carbon has a one positive charge extra. So that means the matter is negatively charged when you add extra electrons. So when we add extra electrons, that means here 7 electrons. So you have a C minus. When you remove one electron, then the material become positively charged because one less electron. So here you will only have 5 electrons. Charges has a property of attracting and repelling. So here like charges repel and unlike charges will attract each other. That means 2 electrons will repel each other, 2 protons will repel each other. That is like charges repel. That means 2 electrons, 2 negative charges repels each other. Similarly, the 2 positive charges, protons also repel each other, but 1 electron and proton attract each other. So that means unlike charges are attract each other. This is the property of charges. Charges can also travel in the conductors from one place to another place through conductor. If you take any conductor like a copper, when we apply potential difference here between the two ends of the copper, then the electrons will move in through this conductor. That means charges can travel in the conductors, but the charges cannot travel in the case of insulators because in the insulator there won't be a free charges. Total charge is conserved. This is important point. The total charge existing in the universe is conserved. That means the total charge in the universe can be represented in terms of integral multiple of small quantity. That small quantity is called charge of electron. So we'll discuss this in the next slide, more details. The force of attraction or repulsion is inversely proportional to square of the distance. This is the inverse square law. So here we have discussed like charges repel, unlike charges attract. Now here the force of attraction or force of repulsion follows inverse square of the distance between them. That means these charges, the force of attraction or repulsion, the force is actually follows inverse square law. This is a Coulomb's law. We will discuss this next slides. So now let us see quantization of charges. Charge is quantized. This is important. So that means if we can able to express the total charge in the universe with integral multiple of small quantity, then we can say the charge is quantized. That means the Q can be expressed in terms of multiples of an elementary charges. That is, the total charge in the universe can be expressed in integral multiples of small quantity. That small quantity is the charge of electron. So that means total charge Q can be expressed in terms of small n into Q. This Q is actually E. So this is n into E. Here n is the integral multiples of charge. That means the total charge in the universe can be expressed in terms of integral multiples of small unit. That means we can say the charge is quantized. The charge is quantized. Like similarly, like energy is quantized. We can express energy E is equal to NH nu. Here n is the number, H nu is the, H is the Planck's constant, nu is the frequency of the radiation, H nu is the energy. The total energy can be expressed in terms of integral multiples of small quantity. That small quantity is H nu. So here also, here we can say energy is quantized. Similarly, the charge can also be expressed as integral multiples of small quantity. That small quantity is the charge of electron. And the charge of the electron is E minus is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. And mass of the electron is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kg. So here we are expressing total charge in terms of elementary charge. That elementary charge is electron charge. So the charge of electron is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs and the mass of electron is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kg. So now let us also compare the elementary properties like a charge and mass for various other particles like this way. So electron, proton, neutron and positron. If you see here, this is the elementary charge and the charge is represented with the minus E. So because electron is a negative charge, so we represent minus E, and the mass is, let's consider 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 is kg is equal to 1. Like to represent the masses of the other particles, we are considering this is a 1 unit of mass of the electron. And the diameter is almost 0. Now, when you see proton, the proton has a positive charge, positive electron charge, that means equal to the charge of electron, but in positive, with the positive side. And the mass is 1836 times the mass of electron. Mass of the electron. This is a mass of 1836 times the mass of electron. That means you can imagine the proton size is too large compared to the electron. And the diameter of the proton is approximately 10 power minus 15 meters, that is 1 fermion. Similarly, neutron. Neutron is a neutral charge, so there will not be any charge. So the charge of the neutron is 0. But it has a mass. The mass is 1839 times mass of the electron. So you can see here the proton and neutron has a similar mass and they both lies in the nucleus. If you remember, every atom contains a nucleus and electrons will be revolving around the nucleus. This is the nucleus. So nucleus contains neutrons and protons. So neutrons and protons will be lying inside the nucleus and they have mass almost the same, which is equal to 1836 or 1839 times mass of the electron. And also the size of the neutron is also approximately 1 fermion. And then compared to these three, the positron, this is very similar to electron, but it is not electron. If you see here, the positron has a positive charge of electron, electron has a negative charge. And also if you see, the mass of the positron is 1 unit of electron mass. 1 unit of electron mass similar to electron, and then it has diameter is approximately 0. So that means electron and positron are both anti-particles. Both are having same characteristics but having anti-nature. That means the charge of electron is negative, the charge of positron is positive. That means in the universe, every charge, the total charge can be expressed in terms of the charge of electron. That means integral multiples of the charge of electron. However, the protons and neutrons will have a quark structure inside it. You can see here protons and neutrons are made up of quarks. If you see the quark charge, the charge of the quark will be either 1/3 e or 2/3 e, 1/3 e or 2/3 e. But usually the quarks won't be alone. You will not find any alone quarks. They will always be together such that the total charge can be expressed in terms of electron charge. That means integral multiple of electron charge. So this is how we can say the charge is quantized in the universe. Now let us see the Coulomb law of force of attraction or repulsion. That's the Coulomb's law. So the definition is here simple. The force of attraction or repulsion between two charges, two stationary charges, is directly proportional to the product of the two charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. That means we have a two charges. This is a Q1, this is a Q2. They are separated by a distance r. And if the two charges are positively charged, they may repel each other. And then two charges are negative, still they will repel each other. If one charge is positive, one charge is a negative, then they may attract each other. So the force of attraction or repulsion, both. The force of attraction or repulsion is directly proportional to, F is directly proportional to the product of charges Q1 and Q2 and inverse square of the distance between them. That means F is inversely proportional to 1 by r square. Now if you combine these two, we can write F is directly proportional to Q1 Q2 by r square. So if you replace the proportionality constant, this is, here the proportional constant is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which is equal to 9 into 10 power 9 Newton meter square Coulomb square. So this is the Coulomb's law. So F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by r square. The direction of this is a force. Force is a vector quantity which has a direction and magnitude. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by r square gives you magnitude, and r cap is the direction of the force that is acting on the two charges. So r cap. And the units for the force is Newton meter square per Coulomb square. And if the charges are present in some medium, if this is the case, if you see here, this is if the charges are present in the vacuum, air or vacuum. If the charges are present in the medium, then we can write Coulomb's law in medium. F bar is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by r square into r cap. Epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space, which is equal to 8.85 into 10 power minus 12 farad per meter. Here epsilon is equal to, epsilon is the dielectric constant of the medium or permittivity of medium. Permittivity of medium or the dielectric constant of medium. We can write epsilon is equal to epsilon r into epsilon naught. Epsilon r is the relative permittivity of medium. Epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. So this is about the Coulomb's law in electrostatics. Now here if you see, here there are only two charges are there. When there is a two charges, this is the force of attraction or repulsion. Now for example, if I have more than two charges, they are discretely distributed in the some space, then how to write the force of attraction or repulsion? Like this way. For example, if you see, this is a Q1, this is a Q2, this is a Q3 charge, and there is another charge which is a capital Q. There are three charges are there. They all are at a distance r1 from the Q1, and then this is at a distance r2 from Q2, and this charge is at a distance r3 from Q3. Now, what is the total force experienced by this charge Q? And how to find the force of attraction or repulsion experienced by this capital Q because of Q1, Q2, Q3 and so on. This is given by the superposition principle like this way. If several charges Q1, Q2, Q3 are present in a region, then the total force on any charge Q, and any charge, this is the Q, this is the I'm taking, is the vector sum of the forces it experiences due to all other charges. This is called principle of superposition. That means the force experienced by charge Q is the vector sum of the forces experienced by this charge due to all other charges. That will be the total force experienced by the capital Q. Like this way. Now you can see here, the force due to Q1 on Q is F is equal to simply 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q1 Q by R square. This is simply Q1 Q2 by R square. So Q1 into Q2 is a capital Q. So the distance between them is R1. So this is Q1 Q by R1 square. Similarly, we can also write the force experienced by Q because of Q2 is like this way. F2 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q2 into Q by R2 square. Similarly, the force due to Q3 on Q is F3 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q3 into Q by R3 square, and the direction is R3 cap. Now, these are the three different forces acting on this capital Q. Now, the total force acting on the Q is the vector sum of all these forces. That is, so here the resultant force on Q due to all other charges is given by the superposition principle. So the superposition principle states that the vector sum of all other forces is the resultant force acting on the charge Q. That can be written like this way. So the resultant force is F is equal to F1, F2, F3. F1 is equal to F1 plus F2 plus F3 and so on. If you have n charges, then it is until Fn. Now if you add all these forces, then the resultant force can be written like this way. F bar is equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon naught into summation of I is equal to 1 to n Qi by Ri square. Ri square R cap. This is the resultant force which is acting on the capital Q because of all other charges, which is given by superposition principle. So this is for the discrete charge distribution. So here, this is the important thing is, principle of superposition is applicable when the forces between the two charges or masses is independent of the presence of other charges. So that means when I have many different charges, here, the forces between two charges is independent of the presence of other charges. That is the condition that we assumed, and after that we are calculating that resultant force on the capital Q. This is about for the discrete charge distribution, how to find out the force. Now let us see the electric field. Electric field and intensity of electric field. What is the electric field? Right? Let's see electric field. The region surrounding an electric charge are a group of charges in which another charge experiences a force is called electric charge. That means if I have a charge, this is a charge, this is a positive charge I am considering. Now the region somewhere here nearby, if I keep another charge, small charge, test charge, small q, if this charge experiences a force because of this charge, then we can say that is called electric field. That means the charge surrounding, there is something is there, because of something this charge is experiencing some force. That is called electric field. I'll read again. The region surrounding an electric charge, this is electric charge, this is the region surrounding electric charge, are a group of charges in which another charge, this is another charge we are keeping, which experiences a force, is called electric field. That means there is some field is there, because of the field, this another charge is experiencing a force on it. So that experience is called electric field. And if you wanted to define the intensity of electric field, the force per unit charge is called intensity of electric field. So intensity of electric field can be defined. The intensity of electric field at a point in the field is defined as the force experienced by unit positive charge placed at that point. This is called simply force per unit charge. Force per unit charge, that is F is equal to QE. Generally we can write F is equal to QE. F is equal to QE. So we can write E is equal to F by Q. So E is equal to intensity of electric field, E is equal to F by Q. Here if you see, the force is a vector quantity, so electric field is also a vector quantity. So F by Q naught. Q naught is a unit positive charge, and the intensity of electric field has a units newtons per coulomb. Force can be measured in the newtons, charge can be measured in the coulombs, so force per unit charge. So newtons per coulomb. So if you wanted to write more detailed, so that means if the test charge Q naught is the unit positive charge at a distance r from a point charge Q in an air, then the force experienced by unit positive charge is given by F is. So for example, if you see here, they are saying that there is a Q, this is a charge. Now we are keeping another test charge, this is a Q naught at some distance r between them. Now the intensity of electric field at this point, this is the point of reference, at this point the intensity of the electric field at this point can be written F is equal to Q naught into E. So E is equal to F by Q naught. But you know F, the force between these you can write 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught by R square. So by Q naught means you need to put Q naught. So Q naught will be cancelled. So the answer is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square. This is the intensity of electric field. So the intensity of electric field F, this is a force, F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q into 1 into Q naught. Actually this is 1 unit, so we have written only 1 by R square. So the electric field is, E is equal to F by 1, or if you write here Q naught, it will be Q naught. E is equal to F by 1, which is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square. This is the formula for the intensity of electric field for a point charge at a distance r. Now if, like the forces that we found for a discrete charge distribution, we can also find electric field by using superposition principle, like this way. So if we have a discrete charge distribution Q1, Q2, Q3 from a point at a distance R1, R2, R3 respectively, then the resultant electric field at a point A due to all the charges can be given by using simple superposition principle, like this way. You can see here the electric field due to Q1 at a point A is E1 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 by R1 square. Similarly, the electric field at point A due to Q2 is this one, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q2 by R2 square, and due to Q3, that is a charge 3, is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q3 by R3 square. Now the resultant electric field due to all these electric fields is a vector sum of the electric fields due to all the charges. That is given by superposition principle. Now if you write the resultant electric field at point A, resultant electric field at point A is E bar is equal to E1 bar plus E2 bar, E3 bar and so on, En bar if you have n charges. Then if you summarize this into a small form, that is this one. So E bar is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught summation of 1 to n Qi by Ri square. This is the electric field at point A due to all other charges. This is given by superposition principle. Here also again, when we are calculating the electric field, we are neglecting the presence of other charges when we are considering the force or field between two charges or 2 points. So this is about intensity of electric field. So now I'll just summarize. The charge is a property of material, and charge can be two types, positive and negative, and then the charge is quantized. That means the total charge in the universe can be expressed in terms of integral multiples of a small quantity, that is the elementary charge. So the charge of electron is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. Mass of the electron is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kg. And the Coulomb's law is the force of attraction or repulsion between the two charges is directly proportional to the product of the charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. The intensity of electric field is the force per unit charge is called intensity of electric field. Thank you so much for your attention. See you again. Thank you so much for your attention. See you again.